Before we get to Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space, I do just want to get your take here on some of the broader market volatility that we've been seeing over the past few weeks and months here, and whether there you find opportunity in that, or has that sort of pushed you away to the sidelines?
Listen, it's a very difficult environment, right? We're at market-breaking levels in almost every asset class. And I started Wall Street 30 years ago, and when markets were suffering this much pain, you almost always saw a big knight on a white horse. You could call him Sir Greenspan or Sir Bernanke or, Madam Yellen, show up with some juice that would get the markets excited again. And this time we don't have central banks that are coming to the aid of markets. And so lots of analogs that one might look at that normally have always worked in the context of a Fed easing cycle, not where the Fed still has to tighten. And so we're going to be in for a rough few months of markets that are pricing a tremendous amount of bearishness, but a reason to still be bearish. Inflation hasn't rolled over. Growth in employment is still strong in the U.S. We've got a war with China brewing, or at least a Cold War with China. China going back to zero COVID and not really helping the global economy on the growth kicker. Russia, Ukraine not really feeling like there's a breaking, in the tension. And so it's a lot of bad information. It's priced in, and therefore you're going to see wild bear market rallies, but the trends kind of remain in place.
And Mike, are you ever then tempted, amid this volatility, to put new money, dry powder to work, whether it be in crypto, whether it be across other assets? Because we spoke to David Rubenstein, for example, just a couple of days ago, saying, look, these levels will eventually go higher if you've got more of a long-term perspective. Now is not a bad time to be buying.
So much is your timing and the context of how you trade, right? If you trade leverage, the all clear sign's not there yet. It takes a whole lot of courage, and I would encourage people to bet small. If you're looking at this over a 15-year horizon, I still think stocks haven't hit their low. But, what are we, 15% maybe from where they finally go, 20%? And so if you're looking at a 10-year horizon, sure. 2-year notes at 4.5%, probably a decent buy, even though they can go a little higher. And so, again, it all depends on the type of investor you are.
When you're thinking about then the role of cryptocurrencies in a broader portfolio, does that base case and that investment opportunity then still stand?
Yeah, listen, so crypto's a confusing word because it means a bunch of different things. But if I start with Bitcoin, which has been kind of what I'll call digital gold, an asset that should do well when central banks are debasing their own currency. It did spectacularly well, right? It went from 10,000 to 70,000 when, post-COVID, every central bank was pushing in as much money as humanly possible. It's had a much harder, year this year, but that makes sense because Chairman Powell has gone from zero rates on the way to 4.5%, 5%.
Yeah.
And so as he's trying to kill inflation, the real question on a go-forward basis, because that's all that matters, is will the central bank be able to kill inflation, and will the politicians in the U.S., Democrats and Republicans, be able to stop the urge of all politicians, which is spend more money, right? You see Biden today, doing non-economic things, releasing the SPR around an election cycle, right? That in general isn't great for markets. California is paying its citizens $1,000 each to try to deal with the inflation. And I understand the crises of how it's hitting working and middle-class families, but we either have to stop spending so much money, or you're going to see inflation slowly pick back up after they get it down. And that's the real case for Bitcoin. That populism isn't going away.
Mike, what outside of the world of macro, though, if anything, starts to get crypto, and I talk crypto largely, but let's focus on Bitcoin and ETH, out of the bear market? Is there anything nuanced specifically to that, or is it all about the dollar, about other asset classes?
For Bitcoin, it's about the macro, but for the rest of crypto, right, the Ethereum ecosystem and all the other, layer 1 and layer 2 blockchains being built and what's built on top of them, that's an inevitable march to starting to change how we actually operate. And there's tremendous amount of venture capital that continues to come in the space. $5 billion last quarter, $9 billion the quarter before that. And if you look at from Citadel to JP Morgan to the Bank of New York, BlackRock, the biggest players in traditional finance are actually making huge investments in and around this architecture. We are going to see tokenization of assets. We are going to see digital money in some form of stable coin. And so that story continues to be really exciting. I think it's going to need the macro to catch fire first before other people kind of get in, because there's still a correlation. But the amount of capacity being built is tremendous. And so when the market comes back, the narrative is, and the narrative is there, there's going to be a lot more access or easier access to participate.
Are you making additional investments in that particular area?
We are trying to, manage our company prudently and build to where the puck is going to be. And so we've got a big focus on building a really world-class prime business. There hasn't been a great prime. The market happened so fast. No one really had a chance to build what customers will need in the future. And so we're doing a lot of investment there. We're trying on our asset management side to come up with a more diverse suite of products for customers. Because we know, I'm at this conference, and a lot of the RIAs haven't made big investments in the space yet, but they're all asking questions and they're all getting ready. And so I think when you see things turn, the digital space, the crypto space is going to be a favored child.